Shame.
And we're live, and we're a minute late because I was misspelling Lior's name and being corrected by Google Translate, which was embarrassing. Um, we're live. It is Friday. It is the 6th of June, the year of our Lord 2025. It is 8:01 a.m. p.m. I'm a little discombobulated this morning
Yeah.
because I'm thinking about Hebrew spellings, and I gotta say Hebrew spellings are the one of the most complicated things in all of my language acquisition. It's impossible to learn the spelling conventions in Hebrew because they don't have any vowels.
Mm.
And because there are about three letters, three ways to say each sound. It's ridiculous. Our people have had 4,000 years to fix this problem, and we keep making it worse. But that is not what we're here to talk about. We are here to talk about the fact that the girlies are fighting. And this is the most fun thing in the world. Everybody is coming up with a different metaphor for it. If you are not following gay men on Blue Sky, um, they have the best,
They have the read. Got the inside track.
yeah, that this is, as one of them put it, the bitchiest fight for pride you could imagine. My personal metaphor is that this is the Iran-Iraq war. That requires that you be of a certain age to remember the Iran.
Mine is it's like a bad evangelical marriage. And the counselor is going to tell them that it's unbiblical to divorce and they're going to have to fix things. And then they're going to end up in a Dateline NBC episode.
But who is the wife here? Who's the one who's going to be told in the that she has to submit?
Yeah, that's not clear. See, that's the problem in the marriage is that nobody is submitting.
Right, because
Then all marriage problems boil down to the wife is not submitting. So I don't know who the wife is, but clearly someone is not submitting and it's chaos. It's social chaos. If you don't have submission, you have chaos, and that's what's going on. And it's unbiblical. And so they're going to have to fix it.
right. So we got that going on. It's also so there are a lot of great metaphors. We're going to talk about great metaphors for it. Also, Holly has threatened to do the entire show in Taylor Swift
I wish
lyrics.
I could. I'm not that skilled, but I would dream of that. Given some prep time.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so maybe we're going to be joined by people who are, you know, super expert and can handle that. Maybe we're not. Um,
I will
all
offer an on the spot Taylor Swift playlist for the occasion.
okay. Do it.
Oh, right now? Don't
Yeah.
you want to finish this?
Well, no, I mean, all right. Oh, right, right, right. We got to get to. Anyway, look, when the two worst people in the United States go to war with one another, um, and and they do it because neither of them has the slightest sense of self-discipline or decorum. They do it in public. The rest of us just get to, whether it's eating popcorn, or it's the ultimate expression of, you know, enjoying it when bad things happen to bad people, all of which is to say that the sun is shining, the birds are chirping, and it's going to be one of those days it's
Epic.
fun to be an American, and we haven't had enough of those days recently. Mr. Cactus,
We're watching dog show TV and effing
we've lost yet another couple syllables off the introduction. The snowman is maintaining a dignified silence,
Unlike
but
Elon and Trump,
he is enjoying it as bad things happen to bad
he
cactuses.
secretly hates the cactus.
He does secretly hate the cactus. And, we're gonna be it's gonna be you are watching dog shirt TV, and it is a revolution in morning television. And one of the revolutionary features, of which there are many, is that we enjoy the cactus's decay like you are watching a late stage Parkinson's patient lose capacity, and you're enjoying it because that's the kind of day it is. We are watching an evangelical marriage disintegrate before us, or a gay divorce disintegrate before us.
The same thing.
um, you know, we're watching it, and we're just experiencing nothing but Schadenfreude.
Mhm.
And that, does that make us bad people,
Yeah,
for
a little bit.
enjoying the cactus's decay? Yes,
Oh,
we are less good people as a result. Our time in purgatory will be extended. We will be mocked in Ha'olam Haba, but we are not ashamed of it, because sometimes awesome shit happens. We're going to have a great show today. We're talking about nothing but the girlies. Holly, where do you want to start?
Well, first of all, I want to start with the possible indications that they are actually going to patch things up, like a bad evangelical marriage. Last night, this guy, Bill Ackerman, who I don't even know who that is.
He's one of these tech investor types.
Okay, well, anyway, he's the evangelical marriage counselor who is, has the perfect book for them and the perfect Bible verse. And then Laura Loomer did a whole backup singer routine with him. And then Elon appeared to de-escalate after that tweeted. So I don't know, maybe they're de-escalating. Maybe it looks like Elon is actually the one kind of backing down, because he probably realizes that Trump does have a secret police force of sorts, or is developing one. And the Doge boys are no match for that. So I think Trump probably ultimately has the cards, because Elon has the money, but as Russian oligarchs know very well, you can have a lot of money and still get thrown out of window.
Yeah, the money can be taken away. Even if you don't get thrown out of a window, you can uh, you can be, stripped of your money and company. Although that's pretty hard to do in the United States. Well, I mean, so far.
Well, he
Um,
can have his defense contracts. I mean,
right.
there's no scenario in which Elon ends up poor, but he could have less money, which I think is a traumatic thought for him anyway. Someone speculated last night that as his latest round of ketamine wore off, he realized kind of the trouble he had caused and the trouble he was in, and that he was so we'll have to watch it today and the next few days. I mean, if they do sort of patch things up, it'll be publicly, obviously, and I don't think it'll last, because neither of them have any sort of self-control or discipline. And I just think it's a matter of time before the whole thing implodes again and probably gets worse. And again, probably will end up on Dateline NBC. So we'll see what happens. But I was going to just go on the spot, offer a possible Taylor Swift playlist.
Okay, but you gotta do a kind of annotated version, because some of us,
Sure.
despite Anna Bowers and others' efforts, are not well versed Swifties. So
Yeah. Well, I
so
mean, I think the titles are self-explanatory.
okay.
So obviously we got Cruel Summer. Got to do Cruel Summer in there. Look What You Made Me Do. That's obvious. Obviously, Look What You Made Me Do. Let's see. You Need to Calm Down, obviously, is one that must be in there. Of course, I did a parody of the Tortured Poets Department called the Addled Tech Bros Farrago, which I think might be appropriate to the situation. Anti-hero, obviously, they're both anti-heroes, so that could be a good one in there. I Did Something Bad. That's obviously very good. Exile. Exile sad song. I think Elon is maybe going into exile. Karma is always appropriate.
Hmm.
Um, let's see. What have we got here? My boy only breaks his favorite toys. I mean, that song is about both immature men causing harm. So that one is great. The smallest man who ever lived. I mean, but which one?
Which one, right?
That's the
It's kind of a
whole
competition for
that's
them.
the whole complication in the metaphors with all of this is it's not clear who's the worst. Usually you're rooting for someone or like there's someone who's the worst. And certainly in a Taylor Swift song, like there's a clear villain
Right.
in the Taylor Swift songs. Like I don't know that there's a lot of songs where that's ambiguous. So it's not like the perfect metaphor. But if you use a little imagination, it could. But oh, of course, and I have to credit Rachel Vindman for this. She began on Threads actually. She began quoting lyrics to "We're never, ever, ever getting back together," which I also have a parody of. My parody, I have several Taylor Swift parodies, and that one is a great one. I mean,
Jeff
it
raises a
goes
very
on.
Jeff
Champagne
raises a very
problems.
interesting issue in the chat, which is that ketamine is hard to rhyme with.
I don't know. I think it could.
I
I
mean,
feel
we
like
need Tom
actually no,
Lehrer here.
ketamine is great. I could come up with a rhyme. You don't have to rhyme the whole word.
Right.
Ketamine. Just do the "ine" at the end. Oh, champagne problems. That's a great one for this occasion. Um, yeah, there's so many. I mean, vigilante shit, obviously. That's Elon's doing vigilante shit, that's for sure. I mean, the whole catalog can be appropriate. Bad Blood, obviously. Chuck Schumer tweeted out Bad Blood, and I'm like, get Taylor's name out of your mouth, Chuck. You know, like that's.
Are you an anti-Schumer person too?
I mean, lately he's lame. I've never
Right.
been a huge fan, but he just gets more and more lame. And like trying to like be cool with a Taylor Swift reference when you're like 80 something years old and you're like so out of you like and you're such a lame person like that's just insulting to the Swifties. So yeah, that's that's a good start. I mean, you could go on. I'd say a good third of the catalog is appropriate because nobody does bad breakups like Taylor Swift. I mean, she's the queen of the bad breakup song. And so I mean, just go binge on Taylor Swift today. Put it on your this is a challenge to you, Ben. Get to know Taylor Swift. Just go in your car, get the Apple Music going, Taylor Swift, roll down the windows and just like cruise around, man. It'll be a great day.
Wow. All right. So we're gonna learn some Taylor Swift today. I do want to say though that the classic breakup song is not both parties behaving not just badly, but
Well, that's what I'm
cosmically
saying.
badly.
Yeah,
And one of the things I love about this is that, there is no protagonist here.
that's right.
There is only, Molotov and Ribbentrop, or uh, you've got um, this is like I
I said it's like USC and Alabama playing in a bowl game, and you just want the earth to swallow everyone on the field. Just like a chasm to open up, and just the entire field just like goes into the core of the.
No, but you don't want that because that just disappears them both at the same time. You want them actively to inflict pain on each other. As Lior says in the chat, you wish both sides success. Um, like every tweet is fun.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Um, and I think it's not that you want both sides to lose. It's that you want each one to extract each fingernail from the other with maximum pain. Um,
Yeah, it's fun. It's super fun. I don't know ultimately, like if you had to pick an ultimate winner, like under duress, I would probably go with Elon. I don't know.
Well, isn't the point that because your original point, there is no way that Elon comes out of this the winner? You're rooting for him to inflict as much damage in this self-destructive cycle as humanly possible.
Yeah.
And you're rooting for him to, you know, it's like it's a kamikaze mission, but you want him to hit the aircraft. And, like you want the aircraft carrier to have a giant hole in the side. It's not that you think the kamikaze pilot's going to survive.
Yeah. Yeah. Although, I mean, I'm sure he has some dirt he could spill. I mean, JVL suggested that he just like offer $5 billion to enough senators to convict Trump after an impeachment, you know?
Yeah, but that's not realistic. But
Yeah.
here's what is realistic. Um, you know, a giant Elon funded, probably anonymously super PAC, but that everybody sort of suspects is Elon,
Yeah.
um, goes in a targeted fashion in a big way, on behalf of, for example, both primarying Republicans from the center just to cause chaos, or even primarying Republicans from the Tea Party-ish, like Tom Massey point of view, right? You betrayed us by not being committed to spending. Just as much internecine fighting within the caucus as humanly possible.
Well, I will say, and then we'll go to John Hawkinson, but I will say that somebody, I don't know who, and I don't really care who, but somebody needs to run anti-Trump ads like everywhere because I tell you what, the pro-Trump ads are everywhere. It's like if you are watching YouTube, my son watches YouTube all the time, and there's there's
Holly,
pro-Trump
you need to
ads
be
on YouTube.
careful. You are seeing pro-Trump ads, but that doesn't mean that everyone is. This is indeed
Well,
the
I
whole
guess
algorithm thing.
14-year-old boys is who they're targeting, but
You're seeing pro-Trump ads, Holly, because they're trying to persuade you not to go to those set of protests today.
well, anyway, somebody needs to do anti-Trump ads like on Fox News and carpet bomb the airwaves
Somebody could just
because
buy Fox News, and
yeah, that would be amazing,
but
right?
Elon would not be a trustworthy custodian
No,
of it.
no, it would be a Nazi. It would become like a
Isn't there
Nazi.
still a potentially existential lawsuit? Maybe not. I mean, Dominion settled and Smartmatic is still out there, but maybe it's only in the small hundreds of millions, so it wouldn't actually really damage them.
They seem to be fine, I hate to
Well,
say.
You know,
And my parents don't care that they actually it was news to my parents when I told them that Fox News had basically admitted to lying to their viewers to
well,
the
I mean,
tune
I
of,
think their viewers probably know that, so they're not really surprised.
yeah, that's what they're there for. But no, my parents didn't know that and they didn't
whoa.
my
Oh,
goodness, what are you doing there?
He made me come over.
but this was not the plan.
I know the link didn't work.
Oh,
Sorry, I goofed up the link. We had
well,
we had a
anyway,
whole
we
thing
had a
staged.
plan.
Wait,
What are you doing there for
we-
real?
we've
This is
got
Well, we see there are these reindeer men on the wall, and so that's why we're here.
where are you and why and what?
Well, we're in Boston. Oh,
Okay.
what's your story?
Oh God, how much time do we have?
Did you get tired of bottling maple syrup?
No, I'm here to.
You brought me some, right?
Oh, I didn't bring you any syrup. I'll send
By
you.
the way, didn't you offer to send me a bottle of wine?
I haven't ordered it yet, but I will.
But it's different if you were in the same room with him, and
And I've sent it to
he's
Ben
not
before,
there
so
yet, so.
maybe
That's
you could
true.
deliver for me or something. I don't know.
Yeah, I can
So
send you
I'm
one.
here to order the bits and bobs for a race car, and I'm gonna go home and make it, build it myself.
Wow.
Scoop more.
That's
You have
kind
a
of cool.
lot
What kind of
time
race car?
plans, Joel. Now, maybe you need to be making anti-Trump ads or parodies.
Well, they
I'll
could.
put a sticker on it if you want.
Can you get a wrap?
Yeah, I could get a rap for it.
I don't rap, but yeah.
well,
A wrap with a W. That's like a full
But you
vehicle.
said yesterday in the chat that I need auto tune, which is clear. I do need auto tune, but I don't know how to do that. I use GarageBand and I use the bare minimum tools because I don't. It's very. There's a lot of things on there that are very complicated. So if you can help me with that, that'd be great.
I'm kind of we're gonna have to do a show about the building a race car
Yeah.
project.
Sure.
But yeah, let's talk. Let's talk about that because that's interesting. But today we're gonna focus on the girlies fighting. So you're in town for the acquisition of race car parts.
Correct. Yeah, I'm going to go to a factory tour for this place, and then hopefully on Monday go in and fill out an order form, and then it shows up in a great big truck at my place.
And are you planning to race the race car?
No, it's street legal.
I see. So you're not going to
But that doesn't mean
we're
it's
not going to have to do
legal.
a show
It
when
is track
you
and
die in a ball of fire.
Brenda would kill me
I
if I
see.
died
Yeah.
in a car wreck, you know. So
Yeah, of course she wouldn't need to, but that but yeah.
I mean, the worst thing is getting maimed.
yes, I don't
Yeah,
want
you don't
to
want to get maimed.
Yeah, you don't
Yeah.
want to get maimed. That's what's
Yeah.
what you then
Especially
you got
if
whole
you're-
Elon vibe situations.
Yeah, you
So
don't
this
want to.
particular car is a replica of a 1965 Shelby Daytona Coupe. They made
Nice.
6 of them.
Wow.
And so when they stopped racing the Cobras and started racing the GT40, this was the car that was right in between them, and they only made 6 of them. But this company here in Massachusetts makes replicas of them that are very, very accurate and supposed to be just a hoot to drive.
And how so again, we're gonna once the truck arrives and you have all the pieces, we're gonna do a show in front of the pieces of the car.
Well, I can
But
do it live from the shop.
yeah, we should do that. So what level of assembly does this require? Do the pieces
An
are
IKEA, the instructions.
It's
yeah,
kind of
is it like
IKEA
an
car.
Allen wrench that you put it all together with?
Yeah, there might be a couple extra things, but essentially, yeah, just regular kind of auto shop tools will do. I do have to buy an engine hoist though.
Yeah,
Gotta get the
I
motor
don't
at
have
some
one of
point.
those. I'd lend you one, but I don't
Yeah.
have an engine
Yeah,
hoist.
yours
Every
is
shop
busy.
should have an engine hoist. They're like $200 for
That's
for a 2-ton. Everyone should have one.
Do you have thoughts on Elon Musk and our president?
Just that it's some of the best television I've ever seen.
Yeah, it's
The,
really
the theater of this is just fabulous.
I mean, it's like all the
So
other
entertaining.
shows are going to cancel themselves because they can't
I'm just
handle.
hoping that they'll make the cover of People this week.
So
Yeah, with like a heartbreak graphic. You know how they do the
I like where you're going with that.
the like the jagged broken heart. You know.
as I struggled to come up with an excuse to come on screen, I had some cactus news that I thought you should all be aware of.
Yeah.
Which is to say, I saw the new Wes Anderson movie, The Phoenician Scheme, last night,
Oh,
approximately 2 blocks from Joel's hotel for whatever reason. And Wes Anderson movies are a thing and they're complicated. And I didn't really focus on this element, but there is a cactus.
no, really?
It is about the size of Holly's cactus, but it looks a little more cactusy. Maybe a little more like.
Does it talk?
It does. It's only on screen for a very brief moment, and honestly, I didn't fully register it before it was gone. I want to say it's in the first 20 minutes.
Well, that's part of his covert influence. In fact, if you look closely at movies, I bet you'll see a cactus in every movie. You just have to be watching for it, and that's part of the covert influence campaign that this cactus is running.
I mean, that makes a lot of sense. I think I'm not sure how cacti are distinguishable from other things in that way. Like we might find that there are missionary kids references in every film, and we just have to look for them.
Yeah, no, there's well, he's better at it than I am. So yeah, look for the cactus. It's there.
I'm sort of mixed feelings on the overall movie, but the cactus is present. So the next person
Good.
to watch the film from who's watching this should pay a little more attention to that brief moment because I didn't capture it It was gone before I realized it.
Well, yeah, I mean, you're the first one to notice it. This is how all tradecraft, deteriorates over time. Somebody gets a glimpse of the cactus, the next person focuses in on the cactus, and the next person recruits the cactus.
Are you
And
suggesting
that,
I've just outed the cactus?
well, you clearly just outed the cactus. I mean, and look, there's no, once your tradecraft is gone, you end up like the other cactus, shredded on the floor of the household
By
by
the muse of history.
The real
by the muse of
question is,
history, right?
the real question is whose side is the cactus on? Because and how will the cactus enter into the girly drama? Because he could really tip the balance.
Yeah, again, Wes Anderson movies have a lot of detail, so if I ever watch it again, I'll pay closer attention to the cactus issues. But
Okay.
Joel?
Hello?
Yeah.
Man, my hair's fuzzy this morning. Anyway,
Our
You
plan, by
have
the way,
good
was
hair.
to
I
have
have to say, very good hair, Joel.
our plan was to have us both on screen at once in what appeared to be different locations. Here we are in the yellow couch area, and then someone in the
Where are
burgundy.
you? In the hotel?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
yep.
It's like a nice hotel.
Well, this is excellent, and Joel, we wish you all the best with race car parts acquisition. And we are about to be joined by a guest who has a very serious matter to talk about. So we are going to take a brief break from exchanging gossip about the girlies. But enjoy your stay in Boston.
Yep.
We love nothing more than when our members of the Greek chorus connect in real life, and you are both great Americans.
John's much taller than you think he is.
Yeah, John's a tall guy. You and
How
I
tall
are
you,
short
Joel?
guys.
How tall are we talking? How tall are you, Joel?
I think he's like 7'5".
Okay.
Yeah, and Joel's sort of
Yeah,
like
I'm
4'8".
something like that.
Yeah.
Well,
Okay.
this whole business of equalizing our head sizes on screen
Yeah.
to, Ben, was someone going to pop up, or are we filling time till they show up? Or
You never know.
well, okay, you weren't.
Here's a fun fact.
I'm not
tall.
suppressing anybody, if that's what you're
Right,
asking.
yes.
And
I'm quite tall. I'm taller than Ben.
So Holly, through the blue skies, I sent you a link to one of the History of Everything videos.
Oh, just now or before?
A couple of days ago. Very
Oh,
interesting video, and he does about 5 minutes on post-World War II African politics.
Oh, yes.
was
Now I
really
remember it.
kinda
I didn't have a chance to watch it yet. I'm sorry,
No,
Joel.
no, that's totally okay. About halfway in,
Attention span of a gnat.
interesting.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Good. I will watch it.
And-
Yeah.
Ben, I did want to also, I don't know, I don't have a clearly articulated question on it, but it did seem like there should be some discussion about Golden Dome at some point.
well, yeah, that would of course depend on whether you take it remotely seriously.
Love that it's golden. Everything has to be gold, right?
Right, it's
Golden
gil-
showers, golden
yeah.
Joe,
gilted golden pillow.
gold leaf.
Um, yeah, I think so. First of all, I at least do not have adequate sense of what it purports to be. To
That's
and
part
I
of
think
the theme.
the first element of the discussion has to be, is this anything but a new name for Strategic Defense Initiative, missile defense, Star Wars, blah blah blah.
Actually, before we do that, I would propose we instead refer to it as Pyrite Dome. Which for
Very
those
good.
who know,
Fool's gold.
Fool's gold.
Yes. So Yes, iron pyrite, which by the way looks nothing like gold. And I've always been amused by the fact that the ancients and the alchemists would try to pass it off as gold. It's not even gold colored. Um, it's kind of, um, you know, so look, I think, I need to do a little bit of research about what if there's actually enough substance to it even to discuss, or whether it's kind of like the big beautiful bill before the House started actually, creating what became the bill. It's just sort of something Trump said. Do you have a sense of whether there's any substance there?
Well, I don't know that I agree on a fundamental level. I think this is a posturing issue, and it always will be, even if there was a clear technical goal, hit a bullet with a fairy dancing on top. Uh, there's always a question of achievability, and throughout the strategic missile defense program, there have been questions about whether the claims made are justified by the products produced. So even if we knew with perfect fidelity what the intention was for whatever would come in 2028 or 2030 or 2040, that wouldn't tell us what we would actually get. So as a result, I
Oh,
think our analysis needs to be based on posturing, and so it almost doesn't matter what they want to do because they're not necessarily going to do what they want to do.
no,
So
I
we
actually
need to put
disagree with
ourselves
that
in the
pretty
mind of the
profoundly.
adversaries that say, what could the United States actually do if it wanted to, knowing that it might not achieve its goals, and then analyze it in that framework. At least that's my current thinking.
Right. So I disagree with an aspect of that pretty profoundly, which is um the original Star Wars program was a kind of fantastical exercise that Ronald Reagan came up with literally from watching the movie uh, uh, um, that old Matthew Broderick movie. And the idea of global missile shield has always been a bit of a fantasy. The idea that it could be space-based was complete, had no base, has never had a basis um, in science or anything else. And the idea, which was part of the original Reagan conception, that you would share it with the Soviets, was uh, um, amusingly delusional. That said, the research that came out of the SDS led to dramatic improvements in theater missile defense. And when I was a kid in the 80s, the idea that such a thing as missile interception was possible was uh, was a was considered uh, so silly that there was an anti-ballistic missile treaty to prevent either side from either even contemplating it, because it was unachievable and could create a first strike
I'm
capability.
sure everyone here knows what theater missile defense is, and that might be worth. But I'm waiting for your point.
Yeah, so now we have an environment in which uh, you know even countries that are not the United States, um, uh, you know, Israel has a remarkable missile defense program that is effective and that keeps enormous numbers of people alive and doing business every day. Even Ukraine, which has which is being bombarded every night, is taking down a very large number of the missiles, gliders, and other things sent in. Air defenses, are not merely limited to airplanes. They are also limited to all kinds of other things that go bump in the night.
Crates full of drones?
And
Those
so
are trucks, so
Yeah,
and
trucks full of drones.
and so
Wow.
I just have come to believe missile defense fantasy is fantasy, but missile defense research produces all kinds of good stuff. And and I do think that having a certain level of fantastical ambition in this area is I've come to respect Reagan's fantastical laying out of a vision and then seeing, okay, we haven't gotten to the vision, but we have gotten to the place where you can have pretty normal life in Israel despite Iran launching 200 missiles. There were like the attack last night on Kiev was incredibly big. And it was like 450. Now, most of those were not ballistic missiles. I don't, but I just think thinking ambitiously about air defense is a good idea. Speaking of the attack last night on Kiev, we are joined
Yeah.
by Marichka,
shall we dismiss
who's
ourselves?
here in Washington, but who's we need to check in on her family, and we need to uh, get a little bit of a briefing about what happened last night in Kiev because it was big and it was ugly. So, Marichka, first of all, are your family all okay?
Yeah, God bless, they're fine. It all started from me receiving a message from my friend who is also here in DC. And she goes, Marichka, did you see the hit on your area? I was like, no way again. I immediately texted my mom. It was already late night here. I saw she's not sleeping. She said it's very loud, impossible to sleep. I started watching stories like each and every second story had the explosions, my friends sitting in the bathrooms, filming all things what's happening, all the sounds, and they can't do anything. Some people went to the subway to hide there as a shelters. And then I see the news that not only Kiev is hit, but also the Ternopil and Lutsk, which is more to western parts of Ukraine, which is kind of crazy because they started this attack and then it was kind of spreading all the way to the western parts of Ukraine. And in Lutsk, I have a very, very good friend of mine and her family. And I was terrified. I was speechless. I barely got any sleep tonight. You see, I don't look perfect, but yeah. And my dad is in a completely different area of Ukraine right now, which I will not disclose. But as well, he said the hit was right near the place he was leaving, but he just turned around and started sleeping back. Because, like, what can he do? He survived, that's it. And I appreciate the optimism these people. And I was also impressed. People were asking me, how are you, Marichka? How am I? I just live in Washington, D.C., in the middle of the some historic things which are happening right now and some historic changes in America. But at least I'm safe and I don't have any drones above my head. So.
So, uh, your father, we're not going to talk about where he is, but he's in the military right now.
Yeah, he recently joined the military, right?
Um, and do we know anything about the number of drones, missiles, rockets, whatever that were sent over last night?
I'm actually not sure on the numbers, but one thing what I can tell you, like I really have to Google it. I didn't pay attention to it because it was not the matter to me. But I would say that many of my friends stated that the level of how the ground was trembling and how close it was, how huge the sound explosion was, they said they didn't even remember something like this in the first days of the war. So it clearly you can say that what Russians and Putin said, that they are trying to kind of respond to the attacks, like recent attacks what Ukraine made, but it's not an attack, it's a protection, it's a self-defense. We are fighting back because if we will not, we will all die. Like we all know that. So they are trying to kind of respond to that, saying like it's fine, you know.
Yeah, and also you guys hit undoubtedly military targets.
Exactly,
These are
exactly. We never,
absolute. The
yeah, we never
law of armed
pointed to
conflict
civilians.
is ambiguous about a lot of things. It is not ambiguous about whether you can take out military aircraft on an air base where there are no civilians, nor is it ambiguous about whether you can bomb supply routes for illegally occupied territory, or even, by the way, legally occupied territory. The Kerch Bridge is a lawful target. There's just no doubt about that. And responding to attacks on lawful targets, and by the way, Mr. President Trump, if you're listening, this is directed at you. Responding to bombings of lawful targets with bombardments of civilian targets is a war crime, period. And you shouldn't be tweeting that Vladimir Putin has promised you a strong response when what he means by a strong response is I'm going to kill civilians in response to bombing aircraft. One is legal, the other is not. It's not more complicated than that.
Knowing
Sorry.
what's legal or caring is not really Trump's strong suit.
No, but I do think, it's important for us to remember that there's actually a law of armed conflict, and these are not like, these are, there are a million hard questions under the law of armed conflict, right? Like, and some of them even implicate this conflict, although it's interesting how few hard law of armed conflict questions the Ukraine-Russia war implicates compared to, for example, the Gaza war, which is just hard questions, hard law of armed conflict questions all the way down, one on top of the other. I don't mean to, for to make excuses for the IDF, which is answering a lot of those hard questions wrongly, but they are hard questions, and they're layered and layered and layered hard questions. These are easy questions, and they're easy questions that, if you take a that if you read the Geneva Conventions, if you read the Hague Conventions on ground warfare, you don't have to read the commentaries to get to where these are easily. You're not allowed to attack civilians. Period. Full stop. And you're not allowed to use the military bombardment of civilians as a retaliation for a legal, lawful, appropriate military strike. And it doesn't matter if you call that strike terrorism. It doesn't matter if you deny that these civilians are civilians. And it doesn't matter if you pretend that you're attacking lawful targets that may be nearby. If you're bombarding cities in areas where civilians, you have obligations under the law of armed conflict. It's just not more complicated than that. End of rant.
I just checked for you. Like the first I got is CNN saying that it was 407 drones and 44 ballistics and cruise missiles, and it's one of the largest numbers recorded in a single attack. So
And
that's kind of crazy. 400. Oh my God.
and does the report give any indication of how many of them were intercepted and how many of them actually landed? And by the way, when stuff is intercepted, that can be really dangerous too, because then you have falling debris from the sky, and sometimes that injures people too. But it's much less bad than when munitions and carry their ordnance to targets.
Okay, it says if we're saying
It's okay, don't worry about it.
like almost all, but still, it doesn't matter if like from one, if one drone was not hit, it could kill so many people. So, I mean, our air defense, our army is working really, really hard. And despite all of this stuff, I still see people in stories, they're also posting the gratitude to first responders, to our army. So they literally making the best to try to save as many people as they can.
Yeah, and 49 people were injured, and I believe there may have been some deaths as well. This is serious stuff, and it is desperately important that um, uh, um, three or four, I think they were rescue workers hit in a double tap strike, actually were killed in Kiev. For those who are asking, Nastya and her family are fine. They spent the night in their very swank bomb shelter, and they are okay, if very annoyed. Marichka, give our love to your family. Get some sleep, and I will see you soon.
Thank you guys. Bye bye.
All right. We are going to return to our regularly scheduled mocking of Elon and Trump. Holly,
Quite a transition.
yeah, it's quite a. We're
Real
going to go
bombs
straight
to
from the
big
serious to
bombs.
the ridiculous.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Yeah, so I don't know. I think today we should have a better idea of whether they're truly de-escalating or where this is kind of going. But lots of speculation about JD Vance's calculations here, because he's obviously he has to stay on the good side of both
Yeah,
sides.
can't we? Are
He's
we
like the
allowed
poor
to?
child of divorce,
Are
you
we
know.
allowed to pray that JD Vance becomes collateral damage?
Oh, I think we're allowed to, all the evil needs to be ensnared in this drama. So, Stephen Miller. Oh, so there were reports, by the way, that obviously verified reports that Stephen Miller's wife, Katie, has gone to work, has left the White House to work for Elon Musk. But then there's speculation that there's more of a relationship there, or at least that Elon is going to rent her womb as he does. So, Elon, he has relationships. I don't know what anyway, relationships, not human ones, but of breeding sorts. But then he just like he's mainly just looking for wombs.
He does seem to be uh, um, looking to rent a lot of space in a lot of different wombs.
Yeah. Yeah. And
I have breaking news
oh,
on the Stephen Miller, Katie Miller front,
tell.
and here it is. Um,
Oh no, I sent that to you. I sent that to
um,
that to you.
uh,
That's amazing. Here's the sad thing is my very solidly Gen X husband, who has actually raised in America, unlike myself, did not get that reference. He did not say anything.
I think that's
That's
that
sad.
meme is one of the
It's great.
great items. And by the way, we are not in any way suggesting that there is a relationship of romantic or rent a womb nature between Stephen Miller's soon to be ex-wife and Elon Musk, nor are we suggesting that anything really about what they're. All we are doing is pointing out that there has been reporting that she is going to work for Elon Musk
Speculation.
amidst the battle between the two factions. Stephen Miller's clearly on one side of it. Elon Musk is, of course, the center of the other. And that we know that Elon Musk does do the rent-a-womb thing.
Yeah.
And so,
Although I have to say, Elon, I would suggest, given his priorities, again, not endorsing, that he get Katie Miller's 23andMe, because she tans very easily. And I'm
that's
just saying,
interesting.
this woman is certainly not of British ancestry like myself, where like you don't tan. You know what I'm
Right.
saying?
She's kind of more like, of a Wittis sort of.
I mean, it could be Southern European, which I suppose is still okay. But like I think Elon, before he rents that womb, he probably wants to do
I
the
think he would
genetic.
want to check to
Yeah.
know that she isn't too, too Southern European or Jewish.
Or Southern, Southern United States,
You
which
can't.
there's a lot of things lurking in there.
That's right. There's that gene pool gets pretty un-European. The scratch, but we're not insinuating anything. Um,
Oh, he
I
does have nice skin that tans easily. That's a fact.
I do want to point out as well that Elon, uh, you know, Stephen Miller, I think, like I am, is a sort of full-blooded Ashkenazi Jew, and I you know I do think we should just have a moment to appreciate how how I guess we should call it going nativist. Um, See what I did there, Holly? And
Did you?
when you're a Jew who embraces racialism, that's a very special kind of self-hatred.
How do you explain that for real? I don't get it. I really, really don't get it.
Well, I've never sat down with the man and discussed it. And to my knowledge, neither
You're
has.
not looking to do that.
Actually, I would do
Actually,
that.
you would like
I
to.
would do that in a heartbeat.
Sure, sure.
Have a 2-3 hour conversation with
He would
Stephen Miller
start yelling
about
at you and
his,
leave.
about how somebody within 100 years of Nazism could come to, how a Jew could come to believe any part of this blood and soil shit, much less, not merely in the way that disgustingly a lot of Israelis, you know, they kind of get into this um, Jew blood thing for both religious and uh, other reasons, but to do it on behalf of white Europeans, right? So this is not, how much Jewish blood and which Jewish blood do you need to be considered a Jew or to be considered eligible for the law of return under Israeli law, right? That's a separate set of questions. It has some inflections of the same shit, but it also has some very old religious law components. It has some how do Jews define their community questions, and it has a lot of stuff going on in there. By the way, doesn't make it attractive. But to be like a Jewish American whose like complaint is that our immigration pool isn't Norwegian enough, right? We're not bringing in the Aryan race. We've got this, great replacement theory shit going on. To be that, right? Like that's some weird stuff. And I would love to sit down with Stephen Miller with a camera on and have a polite conversation about just what the
He does
nature of.
those. He starts screaming pretty quickly.
Well, but I wouldn't start screaming. I actually find his like how you get there, what your perception of your own place in the racial hierarchy that you're defending is. Why you think a you know a Nicaraguan or Northern Triangle migrant who is picking crops and paying taxes and living according to the law is a sort of threat to the ethnic composition of America, but Nick Fuentes, who's a vocal and you know
And also
Hitler
has a Spanish surname. Is he a Latino?
I don't know what he is. I don't care what he is.
Yeah,
He's a neo-Nazi.
sure.
Um, but this is somebody to be in a coalition with. I would really be interested in understanding how he gets from my moral universe to theirs, and I would love to have that conversation with him um, if he would want to have it
Well,
with me, which of course he won't.
speaking of Nick Fuentes, and you could add Enrique Tarrio and various other people, there's also a whole class of sort of a whole group of Hispanic people who are in this camp too, where they're like super anti-immigrant, and you see this actually in voting patterns as well.
Right, but I think that's different. And this may be the parochialism of the the Ashkenazic Jew, but there is like the entire Nazi edifice was built on a racial conception of Jews as a threat to the white race. That's like that's what 60% of Mein Kampf is about,
Mhm.
right? It's this sense of that there is a normative, what he called Aryan, which Stephen Miller would probably call white European, right? For him, it doesn't include Italians or Greeks or Slavs, right? Slavs were Untermenschen, to be enslaved. But the ultimate devil in this picture is Jews.
Sure.
And so when you embrace the theory, but say, okay, you embrace the theory that there's some normative American white person, that's the ethnic composition we need, you're simply lifting the piece that's about you out of a racial theory that, you know, is fundamentally about you.
Yeah.
And I don't think there's any analog to that with
Yeah.
Hispanic Americans. It's not there's not an entire, you know, an entire racial theory of murder
Yeah.
that's rooted in and how he grew up thinking, the only problem with this was that it was directed at us. Like, like that's a
Kind
weird
of the whole thing.
thing.
Yeah, I don't know. I just think a lot of these people are just sociopaths, which is a neurological deficit. And he's clearly a sociopath. So is Elon, and so is Trump, and a lot of these people are.
Look, it is 9 o'clock. We've got to wrap, but I will just say the solution to all sociopathy is to pit them against each other. And that's what we've managed to do.
For now.
And it is a great thing. This conversation has gone in a lot of different directions, from the sublime to the ridiculous to the race car to Kiev to missile defense, but it starts and ends with the girlies are fighting
And the cactus.
and the cactus. And the cactus is continuing to deplete. The energy is slowly
Just
dripping
like
out of
Trump and
him.
Elon's relationship.
And by Monday, when we will be back, he may be a mere shadow of himself, a wisp in a hospital bed like somebody after he's been poisoned by Putin. We will see you then.